Hello and welcome to Nintendo Pals Podcast, episode 136. Tonight, Micah has abandoned this show, just like E3 is being abandoned by Nintendo. We're going to be talking the latest news from the week of February 24th. We're talking all that and more. Well, greetings, fellow Nintendo pals. My name is Andross, and I am one of the hosts on the Nintendo Pals Podcast, the show all about Nintendo and friendship. And typically, I am joined by my fellow Nintendo pal, Micah. However, he is mid-moving and does not have his setup set up. So who do we call when Micah is out? It's Pseudo Micah himself. It's Sam.
Yep.
Yeah, good. Welcome, Sam, aka ThirdStrongestMole, aka the third host of the Retro Logic podcast and master of the blog and streams. And I mean, what are you doing? Like, you're doing like half the content creation over on the Retro Logic side these days.
Well, I think a third is
good, fair. Yeah.
I mean, I think John's probably putting out more than the rest of us at this point. He's got like everything going on with he just put up a review. He's got On Topic Retro going pretty strong. Dan, of course, does all the editing for the podcast still. Even though he's kind of stepped back because he's got more on his plate these days, he still does a lot.
But he still does a ton.
I just try to pull my weight,
Yeah. Well, you got John, first strongest mole, Dan, second strongest mole, and Sam, the third strongest mole.
Yeah. and I moonlight, of course, as Pseudo Micah. That's a callback to, I think, a few Nintendo Pals episodes ago. I was called Pseudo Micah, and I just latched onto that. So,
yeah.
If Micah is a Metroid, then I am a Komedo.
Yes.
You up on your Kid Icarus lore.
That's so good. That is a good reference. Well, Sam, thank you for joining us tonight. We're going to have Sam here guesting with us as we talk about the news from this week. But first, I like to do these icebreaker random questions. And this random question is, what are your favorite 5 words at the moment? Maybe we should narrow this down to like
favorite 5 words. Okay,
a few words.
Lugubrious.
What is lugubrious?
It means like overly sorrowful, like to a point where it's just silly. Like showfully,
when I type in
overly melancholy.
How I think that should be spelled, it's auto-corrected, showing results for Lego Morbius. So couldn't look up that.
Well, it is Morbin time, I've heard. Lugubrious. I think that's right. My reputation as an 8th grade spelling bee champion is on the line, so.
Wow, yeah, what the? Looking or sounding sad or dismal. Nice. That's number 1. You have any others you want to shout out? I'm stalling because I don't have
that's the
favorite
one that was
words.
An easy favorite pick. I used the word ornithological in an everyday conversation yesterday, which apparently is unusual. That's the study of birds. I actually really like words. So for me, it's like hard to pick favorites. It's like asking me what my favorite Nintendo Switch game is. I'm like, there are so many.
For me, I'm always a fan of like onomatopoeia.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fun one to say. And palindrome. I always thought that's a cool word.
Mm-hmm.
and a missed opportunity for it to be a palindrome, right? Like, why didn't they do that? Like, bad marketing. I'm trying to think of other words. What are some cool English words? I do like plethora. Sean Capri in chat says moisturize.
That is many people's least favorite word.
Not a favorite. Yeah.
Yeah.
Moist is not a good not a good one.
The phoneme is unpleasant.
This one came up in a quick search. Loquacious?
So yeah, it means wordy.
Oh, so very fitting for this podcast.
Yep.
I'm a very loquacious. This is a very loquacious show. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Loquacious.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
So I mean, actually, I have it is to this day probably for this specific purpose as a like coffee table book. Is a book I recommend to I guess just about anybody, but I don't know. I'm actually very into like words. There's a book called Reading the OED. I forget the author's name now, so apologies to him. But it is this guy who read the entire Oxford English Dictionary in a year. And he kind of went insane doing it. So he kind of journals that experience. But primarily, it is just a list of really weird words that stood out to him, with like some silly observations or comments about them. So
that's pretty great.
I should pick that up again. I haven't looked at it in a while, but it's one of those books you can just like pick up and turn to a random page.
Yeah.
So it's really good to just like leave on your coffee table kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. We had a book like that growing up. That was one of those called like a toilet read. Be like on the back of the and it would just have random
toilet. Yeah,
and just a random words with definitions. But I for the life of me can't remember any of those now. This may be a talkative podcast, but eloquence is not a forte of mine. I used a lot of big words in that sentence. Eloquence, forte. That's fancy. Well, Sam, let's jump into the show. But you know, at the top of the show, I got to do what we do each and every episode of this show, and that is try to take over the world of Nintendo podcasts. And we do that through 5-star reviews. 5-star reviews left by the listeners of this podcast. You listening to this podcast right now can leave a 5-star review, just like Justin Christofferson, who leaves a review on Apple. It says, "Awesome. Keep up the hard work. Fan for life, taking over the world." He's got a little emoji with glasses. And heck yeah, I like this review a lot. Take the call out to taking over the world, and this is why he left a 5-star review, because he's helping conquer the world of Nintendo podcasts. Well, that puts Apple Podcasts up at 63, and I was like, oh man, they're climbing. They're starting to take out Spotify. But when you believe it, Sam, we got 2 new 5-star reviews on Spotify, so Spotify's actually gaining.
Oh, man.
So Spotify has 2 anonymous 5-star reviews. Again, we can't see who reviews on Spotify, but you know who you are, and you know that you are awesome and helping further the cause of Nintendo Paldom. So thank you, everybody who's left us 5-star reviews. Hey, if you're out there and you have not yet left us a 5-star review on all the podcast listening app platforms that you can, do it. Apple Podcasts is a great place. Podchaser is another one. Spotify and Audible. All those places let you leave 5-star reviews. And we see them. We shout them out at the start of every episode. So thanks. Thanks, everybody. All right. Well, let's jump into the first segment of our show. Let's talk what you playing. Sam, as our guest here, I'll let you go first. What have you been playing lately in the realm of Nintendo?
So I just today picked up Octopath Traveler 2.
Yeah. That was what I was.
Picked it up from Best Buy. Got the Steelbook actually, which I'm not even a fan of Steelbooks, but this one's really cool. I really like the Octopath
The art is so good.
concept art.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of got that on it. So that's a cool one. Actually got a chance to play that a little bit just before this. Picked up where I left off on the demo and played my 4th character prologue. That was Casty, the apothecary. So now I've got a full team of 4 at least, which they're kind of split in this one. There's a big sea in the middle of the map. So you actually have to get aboard a ferry to cross the sea to get to the other continent. So I've kind of wrapped up all the chapter 1s on the first continent, the western continent. So I'm gonna see what else I can do before I set sail to the other side of the map. But yeah, enjoying that a whole lot. I've seen reviews for it are really good.
Yeah.
So I guess it's even winning over people who weren't huge fans of the first Octopath. I was, so to me it's more of the same, and that's great. It really is, though, like, because one of the things I notice is that they kind of did take some of the criticism of the first game to heart. Like, just even in the smallest ways so far. I know there's supposed to be like multi-character side stories as well. I haven't gotten to those yet, but that was a big complaint people had. Like, the characters don't really interact with each other enough in the story, especially. But now in Octopath 2, you'll even notice that just in normal random encounters, like when one character breaks an enemy, the next character in the lineup will be like, "Oh, good job, Particio." Like they'll call each other out and like give each other props.
So there's more of that
when they do
interaction.
stuff.
Yeah, that's
So,
cool.
You know, it really is. It's the funniest thing too, because it's like there are two wolves within Square Enix, because you have like the NFT, Marvel's Avengers, microtransaction, super tone deaf side of Square. And then you have the side of Square that makes these games, which are like, I think at least as I see it, exactly what the old school fans want.
Mm-hmm.
And they put out demos ahead of the time, and they ask for feedback, and they actually use the feedback to make their games better. It's like, how is this the same company? I don't get it.
Yeah. Yep. It's bizarre. But I mean, well, I was gonna say you kind of see that with Nintendo, but no, not really. At least with Nintendo,
yeah.
you can like pinpoint like it's this studio, like the studio behind Xenoblade seems to just be on fire, right? And be really good at doing what the fans want. But then
they're on top of it with their marketing and everything for sure.
Yeah, the studio behind like Paper Mario.
Yeah, like that's the other side of it.
I guess it's just a mixed bag when you're working at these large scale companies.
I basically knew I was going to love this game, and so I was going through Fire Emblem at a pretty blistering pace to get it out of the way in time for Octopath 2, which I did. So I finished that earlier this week. I also finished another game this week, which I'd been streaming on the RetroLogic Twitch channel, which was Mega Man Battle Network 2. So I've been working through the Battle Network series. Decided that I'm pretty happy with where I got to in the post game. I didn't go for 100% completion, mostly because I'm convinced that's actually impossible to do on hard mode. But I did defeat Base. So I can't make the stronger version of Base appear without collecting every battle chip. And there is one particular enemy that I don't think you can get the chip from on hard mode. I think it's impossible. So you would be forced to abuse the random chip trader in order to get that chip, which I just don't want to do.
Right. So, yeah, it doesn't sound fun.
As proof, I still have my original save file on normal difficulty, which I have every star on, which is how you unlock hard mode, actually, is by basically doing everything on the base difficulty. So that's wrapped up.
Not a fan of when games lock hard mode behind a normal mode playthrough.
2 is unusual. It's one of the few that has it. The only other one is 4, and 4 has its own issues with it. It's a lot easier to access, but it's actually also like the game's post game. You have to beat that game 3 times to see everything, which is just weird. The other games just have one difficulty, so it's odd.
Yeah.
I didn't know this existed. It's a super obscure thing too, because you don't just have to beat the game; you have to like enter a cheat code on the title screen after getting all the stars. Like it's like go to the title screen, highlight continue, press like left right BA LR start select or something. Like it's I forget what it is. You can look it up. This is why I didn't know it existed until recently.
The same thing. The same thing happens in Panel de Pont. There's like a super hard mode, but it's only accessible through like a cheat code on the title screen. Like what? Why?
But yeah, so
just
I
weird
did,
design
and
choices.
if anybody wants to head over to the RetroLogic Discord, next I'll be playing Battle Chip Challenge, which is a game not on the collection that's coming out in April. I want to do that next for that reason, because I would rather play 3 on the collection. Even though Battle Chip Challenge is a spin-off that takes place between 3 and 4, roughly. So I'll be doing Battle Chip Challenge next, and I opened up to voting for anybody in Discord that wants to vote on it. You actually have 6 different playable characters in that game. So
Cool.
I
That's
will
cool.
I will abide by the results of the poll as to what character I play as, and right now it's like a 4-way tie. So if you have strong opinions on Roll being better than Proto Man, head over there and vote by reacting to that post under content feed.
Yeah, I'll link out to the RetroLogic website where you can find their Discord and all that stuff too in the description of the podcast. Sweet. Any other games you want to highlight you've been playing? You mentioned
that's the primary. Yeah, Fire Emblem. I have thoughts about that, but I don't want to go into a whole review here. It's interesting. I actually played a little more. I started a second file on maddening difficulty, and it's actually improved my opinion of the game significantly.
Oh, that is interesting.
They did a very good job with the difficulty. I've played a lot of strategy games, and it's actually very rare for difficulty to make the AI smarter as you turn up the difficulty. Usually they will just give the AI more stuff.
Yeah,
they'll give it a bigger advantage over you and resources or whatever.
Yeah, they'll just have more units, more health. Oh, okay.
On hard, which I played through the first time, units would gladly throw themselves against Louis, who is like your main tank from the beginning of the game. Even though they did 0 damage, and get counterattacked. On maddening, they're like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do damage, so I'm not going to attack you. And I'm like, oh, you got smarter. You've learned. I'm impressed by this simple thing. So, that's changed it. I think a lot of it too is on the repeat playthrough, I'm just skipping cutscenes, so I don't have to think about how the game is a bit of a mess when it comes to story and characters. I can just enjoy the gameplay.
Yeah, because you're on the repeat playthrough, so it's you don't need to know what's going on.
I know it's not worth my time, and I know what happens
I like
anyway.
that. It's not worth my time, so I'm not gonna
it kind of isn't.
Yeah. That's
probably
fun.
a little overly harsh. I'm sure the game has its defenders, but
I've seen some of the dialogue, and I have a hard time.
There are flashes of competency. I listened to our friend Eric's review on the All In podcast, and I think he was a little bit kinder to it than I would be. But he gave a pretty in-depth review, and he talks about how the writing is very hot and cold. And I pretty much agree. I just don't think the hot is as hot as he does.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe the cold to you is just more impactful. Like it's like it drags down the highlights for some people. That's just how it goes in games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally get it. Well, I'll jump into what I've been playing this week. I played some more No Man's Sky. I have not got a chance to jump into the update, which we're going to talk about a little bit in the news segment here, because they just recently released the Fractal update. But what I did play, I built up my moon base. Not moon, but I'm on a green planet. It's completely green, poisonous, but it's home.
Oh.
It's I went to the Galaxy
I have
next
played
door.
only a very little amount of No Man's Sky. Back when Game Pass came to PC, it was available, and I checked it out. I had some fun with it, but I think it's one of those. I'm not as into the open world stuff.
Yeah.
When it's just because it starts to feel like it's just a resource gathering loop, and I'm like, I need something else to hold my interest.
Yeah, I felt like that when I first played it as well, back on the PS4, and this was like very early days of No Man's Sky, not like crazy early. And I just was like, seems boring. But for whatever reason, now I guess with the updates, there's a little bit more story to it. It's not much, but it's
if
enough.
You can get into it. It's
I've gotten into it.
Limitless amount of content. So
yep, yeah, and there are parts of it that are flawed, I'd say, but for the most part, I just really like it, and I do like the vibe of the game. So yeah, I've talked about that one a bunch on the show. Obviously, I'm always playing Spelunky 2. Not making progress, mind you, but still playing it. I this week did a bunch of short challenges, and some of those I want to highlight. Smash Bros. I attempted to survive in super sudden death for 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
That was very challenging. It was actually really hard because the NPC...
The computer had to survive too.
Yes, the computer had to survive. I had it on the hardest difficulty, so it would, if it got too close to me, would likely just obliterate me. You were in chat when I was streaming that and suggested Donkey Kong, which ended up being the right character to play because his B move trapped the computer.
That's not why I suggested Donkey Kong. I figured just do the cargo throw.
Yeah,
and carry him back to the middle.
Yeah, that would have worked. But then I was like, oh, wait a second. If I just do the good old drum down, slam the character up and down, it worked. I was able to survive for 30 seconds. That took a long time, much longer than I thought it would. Also did a challenge where on the classic mode for Piranha Plant, the very first level, you have to take out 8 Inklings. I was challenged to do that in under 30 seconds. That was pretty fun and pretty challenging. I did a bunch of stuff with Breath of the Wild as well. Taking out a stone talus in like as fast as possible. That one was really challenging because I was trying to work getting the proper item, the attack up gear, and triple attack up food. And doing all of that, I was able to take out the talus in under 10 seconds. Like that's pretty cool. Like maxing out stats and things in the game. I also did the gliding mini game using the BLSS glitch, which lets you fly. And I went as far as you can possibly go. So that was pretty funny. I think it was like 8,000 something meters that I traveled. And he's like, wow, you traveled 8,800 meters. But next time, I bet you could go even further. I'm like, actually, no, you can't. That's the edge of the map. It's the edge of the world. That was fun to just mess around with glitches and break in the game. Besides that, I don't really have too much to highlight. Oh, I played a little bit of Pokemon Scarlet. I tried out surprise trading, proof of concept for a future stream I want to do. Surprise trading's pretty fun. I think that will be fun. I plan to do a stream where I play through the game and see how far I can get surprise trading my team every gym. A completely random new Pokemon.
I think Pokemon Violet in particular is probably going to be very interesting for challenge type scenarios. Even just like something like the fact you do have that, even though it's kind of limited, online capability. Like I think it'd be really cool to have to like link up with a friend and you both meet each other and you start in an area and you're like, okay, we're going to battle each other like 5 minutes from now, only with Pokemon we catch here in the next 5 minutes.
Oh, that's a good idea. Can you battle each other with the multiplayer?
You definitely can battle each other. I think it might be separate from the World Link or Union Link or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
you might have to like end the link and then
that needs to be added in. You should be able to like go to the other.
I know you can
character.
join each other's raids instantly when you do that, but I've only used it like once or twice. So
I think just straight up a race as well would be really fun.
And that always goes back. I know I've talked on Discord with you guys about this before. In college, actually, with Pokemon Black and White, I had a roommate who had Pokemon as well at the time, was playing it, and our other roommate would give us a secretly assign us types, and so we would be gym leaders.
Yep.
I'd be given, and it'd always be so that there wasn't an inherent advantage, right? So I would be given like poison type, and my roommate would be given water type. We wouldn't know the other ones, and we'd have like a week to build our teams, and then at the end of the week we would battle each other. And it was always kind of interesting too, because you tried to stack within that constraint. I think water versus poison was a matchup, and I remember it because it was like my Venusaur just like carried me, because I had a Venusaur because he's poison type, but he's also grass type, so he was good against most of the water types. So it was a lot of fun. That was good times.
Yeah, those kinds of challenge runs are fun. I've been watching a lot of content by YouTubers, M&J TV, specifically his play channel, and Pokemon 7. They do a lot of collaboration stuff, and they've been doing a lot with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Things like generating an AI image based off of a Pokedex description, and then each of them has to guess which Pokemon it is and catch it in the game. So they had like an editor, third party, like make the image for them, and then they all they get is that picture, and they have to go, and it was a contest to see who could get the most doing that. They like challenges like that, and this game is so built for that. I just think I think that it's really, really built for that kind of collaborative play that isn't really built into the game.
Yeah. And it's weird because I think Pokemon has always thrived on that sort of stuff. Like there's so much that's not in game that, like, even you talk about things like Nuzlocke,
like speed runs.
You can improve the game in so many ways by just
randomizers
playing it differently.
Yeah, it's true. And like for Nuzlocke, you don't even have to have like an edited version of the game, right? And this I think
differently.
Yeah, this I think opens it up even more with the way that Scarlet and Violet is designed, and the 3 paths that you end up having to take for the main story. Yeah, great game. I'm excited to see. We'll talk about it in the news a little bit. What we get with the next Pokemon Presents. Well, speaking of news, why don't we jump into the next segment of our show? We've got a lot to cover with the Nintendo news. Alrighty. First bit of news here. We've got the second Splatoon 3 big run will occur from April. Wait. No, March. See, this is Europe. This is Europe time frame here where I got the announcement.
March 4th to March 6th.
March 4th to March 6th.
Not April 3rd to June 3rd.
Yeah.
That would be a long salmon run. I think the Salmonids would have successfully taken over by then.
It's guerrilla warfare. They're just going to keep going forever. So we're going to be doing the next big run event. There's also been teased a new King Salmonid that is being called the Horrorboros.
Yeah, I'm glad to see this because I expected it because we were introduced to Kohuzuna as a King Salmonid, implying that he's not the only one, right? But since launch, he's been the only one. So I think seeing, and I actually hope that they'll even add new boss Salmonids to their rotation later. That's something I was always expecting in Splatoon 2 that never happened. So hopefully they do that. I mean, there's a lot of people who mostly play Salmon Run. So I think it's a huge thing to keep updating that portion of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
the real big news though is Table Turf War is going to have PvP.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah,
that's good news.
That's
great news.
Yesterday, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that actually might get me to fire up the game again, even though I have too many games to play.
Yeah, 100%.
I love Table Turf Battle. I think it's just like genius game design. It's such a like easy enough to understand concept, but also really hard to do well. That I just hope that there's an easier way to grind out card packs, because there are so many cards I don't have, and I got bored of playing against the AI over and over.
Hopefully you still get those with PvP.
I would assume you at least earn levels, because there's a separate Table Turf level that goes up, and that's one of the ways to get packs. The other is just through catalog. The catalog rewards you get every season. Usually a good number of those will be Table Turf packs.
Yeah, I think that Table Turf is a good idea as like a supplemental game inside Splatoon 3, and especially with like the catalog reward system, having it in there. It's kind of like like all the battle passes out there have like all these
except you
rewards.
Don't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Well, you have to pay for NSO.
Yeah.
And you probably are if you're playing Splatoon, since it's such an online game.
Right. And in addition to that, like these rewards actually do something. So many battle pass games have just things that are just pointless. Fortnite has always has like a bunch of like stickers that your character can like hold up.
There's a lot of
like
cosmetics. It's the mentality of, as long as we have a high number of things we can show you're getting, you'll think that you're getting a lot.
Yes. Yeah. So I like. I mean, and I'm not opposed to cosmetics, which Splatoon also has a bunch of that in here, right? But it's nice to see things that actually have merit, like use, that actually have a purpose with card packs. So, yeah, I like that. And that's news on Splatoon 3. Samuel, take this next one.
All right, Level 5 Vision 2023 Direct, scheduled for streaming on YouTube on March 9th at 8 p.m. JST. Latest information on Professor Layton and the New World of Steam and more will be revealed.
Yeah, I found it interesting that Level 5 is doing a like their own little direct.
And more. I mean,
yeah.
Layton is cool, but I wonder what that and more might be.
They talked about a lot of stuff in this last direct, so I think we'll probably just see.
Okay, yeah.
I think we'll see a lot of the stuff more that we already know about. Yeah, more in depth. Like, isn't Deca Police one of the?
I do want to know more about that. That one. That seemed interesting to me.
There was.
I definitely need to know more. It's a maybe for me, but I need to know more.
Yeah. Digimon detective game. Who knows what's going on?
Hey, man.
It's a cool idea. There were a lot of detective games, now that I think about it, coming out.
It was like the two completely out of nowhere, like not an existing series, not a remake of anything, and they got overlooked, and I just found it funny because they're like flying under the radar, and they're both so similar to each other on the surface. But
yeah, percent. Camden in chat says a Digimon detective 10 out of 10. Yeah, I mean it's a detective RPG game set in a digital world. And you get transformed. Like it very briefly showed he transformed into like a cat because of a hacker. I don't know what's going on with that game, but I'm
very over the top.
I'm excited to see more about Professor Layton, because we got literally nothing. That was Professor Layton looking at the camera and the title. That was it.
I'm usually not a fan of those kinds of reveals.
Yeah, no, I'm not
consistent on that.
However, I am excited, because it's Professor Layton coming back, like that.
Yeah, it's always nice to see a series stay alive that's been a little dormant.
Yes.
It gives you hope for your favorite series that isn't around.
Yeah, 100%. That was why I'm just
still holding out hope that it's secretly a Codename Steam crossover, but it is the world of Steam.
Yeah, I don't know. He does have the Abraham Lincoln hat.
Yeah. Maybe it's the next best thing.
The next news item we got here, we talked about a little bit already, but Pokemon Presents is scheduled for February 27th, 6 a.m. Pacific time. Take that, West Coasters, getting up early. This will be about 20 minutes of exciting Pokemon. This is from their tweet. 20 minutes of exciting Pokemon news in celebration of Pokemon Day 2023. So here's what I predict for this, and I'll ask Sam as well what you predict. I think we will see a bunch of updates to their mobile games, and that will be the bulk of their direct. And then it will end with probably it will either start or end with Scarlet Violet DLC announcement.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe we'll see a spin-off announcement, but I'm not holding my breath for that. I'm more just expecting updates on all their mobile titles because that's like all they do in Pokemon Presents nowadays.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't realize because they've moved on, but like Pokemon Go is still going strong. There's still people playing Pokemon Unite.
Yep.
I'm sure there will be updates for that.
Yep.
Maybe we'll finally see Pokemon Sleep. You know?
No, that doesn't exist.
You just gotta get the Wii Vitality sensor to go with it.
Yeah, they promised they would be helping teach, not teach, but helping people with their sleep, and then they realized that they can't do that. It's not possible.
Well, yeah, because if you sleep, unrealistic. You can't play Pokemon.
You know what I would like to see that I don't think they will do? I would like to see an update to Pokemon Smile. My kids have completed the Pokedex. They need to add more Pokemon to it. It's not hard. They're just like little JPEGs Pokemon that dance back and forth.
It's kind of sad because I think it's come and gone, but Pokemon Snap would be a very easy game to add DLC to.
Yes, it should have gotten DLC.
They just do a new course, new I mean, you've released new Pokemon since. Course featuring Scarlet Violet Pokemon.
They had the shrink. We're gonna shrink you down, and you can play the one level. Like I was fully expecting to see more levels do that. Like, here you go. Now you can use the shrink technology on all of the levels. There will be like a version of the course because it's kind of reusing assets, right? A version of the course that's just giant. That'd be cool. But yeah, I think you're right. It feels like that's very much a done deal game. They're not adding any more to it. There's a lot in it. Granted, like I think it's a very filled game, but I was hoping for more. That's Pokemon Presents.
Next one, the 10-year contract has been signed between Microsoft and Nintendo to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo platforms. Eurogamer reported today's Nintendo deal relates to current and future Xbox titles for now, and then Activision Blizzard games if the buyout is included.
So I found that quote interesting and that article interesting because that's more than Call of Duty.
Right. And I remember seeing the statement from Phil Spencer implied that we are bringing Xbox games. He didn't say Call of Duty.
Right.
The contract just says Call of Duty.
Right.
So that's interesting. You have to wonder, is he... At the end of the day, they're only promising Call of Duty, but they certainly want people to think that means more.
Yeah. I would absolutely lose my mind if they do the Master Chief Collection and bring that to Switch somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Halo on a Nintendo console.
Well, you have to think. I mean,
that would be crazy.
With Microsoft being as heavily invested in cloud as they are, I have to assume that's the form most of this is going to take.
I hope not.
I'm sure there's still some technical hurdles for them to sort out, but like once they have the infrastructure in place to cloud stream to a Switch, everything that is on Game Pass Cloud can come to Switch.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how they want to roll that out.
Yeah. Which I don't know. I'm still I haven't given enough of a dive into cloud gaming myself to really have a solid opinion.
I've only used it through PC. 4 games that came to cloud Game Pass that you couldn't play otherwise on PC. So there's a number of those that are on there that are Xbox games that don't necessarily natively run on PC. Like the Rare Replay stuff. Some of that. So I fiddled with a little bit of that, but I never really spent a whole lot of time with it. It can work, but I mean, yeah, you need specific conditions. And I think the biggest issue there is the Switch itself does not have great internet connectivity. And now, don't know. From what I've heard, even the OLED model with the Ethernet port doesn't really improve things.
No, because it's not like actually an Ethernet port.
Yeah. Well, it's just like, because I have a USB to Ethernet like dongle.
Yeah, it's essentially that just attached. Built in.
And it doesn't change that throttle point, which is the actual wireless adapter.
Yeah. It's funny. We have in chat. I can't see who's a staunch supporter of cloud gaming. Big fan of it. It's talked about it a bunch in our Discord. Says, yeah, staunch supporter of cloud, but the current Switch hardware needs a bump first. Specifically, not resolution, but internet. It's exactly what you're saying.
I think in particular, too, the use case of Switch is also that it's supposed to be portable. So you can't assume a wired connection, right? Because people want to take this with them places. So,
Yeah, and if that, to me, is one of the biggest draws of cloud gaming is that, hey, a lot of it is like play from your phone, play from a Switch. Like that seems like that would be really nice, even though you're not tethered. So obviously the connection's never going to be as good, right? But
I mean, then you go from, okay, maybe it works okay at home with my fiber connection, Ethernet, wired dock, but how does it do on the McDonald's Wi-Fi?
Yeah. Yep. I think there's just a lot of like technical problems that still need to be overcome with cloud gaming for it to really be successful. But in ideal circumstances, it works well. So can't complain there. I should have grouped this in when we were talking earlier about Splatoon 3's big run, but the next news item we have here is that Splatoon showed off a new stage, the Umami Ruins. Am I pronouncing that right?
Are always good.
Umami.
Umami. Like it's the flavor in Japanese cuisine.
Yeah, it's like savory, salty flavor. Yep.
Soy based.
That's okay. Let's go back to favorite words that we're using right now. Umami is a great word.
It's a good word.
That needs to be more mainstream. I didn't actually get a chance to look at this. I didn't see what was in this one other than the screenshots, and it looked cool.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it too closely. Stage variety is always a good thing for a game like Splatoon. I think Splatoon 3, the stages in Splatoon 3 don't stand out from each other as much. I think it's also part of the same reason. They do feel better balanced than Splatoon 1 or 2's, but it does feel like all of them have like kind of the choke points around the same areas and kind of, they do feel a little standard. So I don't know how much this will change things up. And I also have not seen, always a question on my mind. I've played a lot of ranked and I always wonder, okay, how's this actually going to work on, tower control? How's this going to work on splat zones? Because like some stages have 2 zones and some stages have 1 zone, and so I'm always curious about that too.
This looks similar to me the layout of the level looks similar to other levels, so I think it's going to fall in that same.
And I think it's a consequence. If you want balanced stages, they're going to be pretty similar to each other. Like you have to have symmetry between the 2 sides, or at least close to symmetry, in order to keep things balanced.
I know, but for me, I think I prefer the variety, but I've never been a competitive gamer, in like anything.
And hopefully they find ways to add in some more interesting gimmicks, like the changing water levels at Mahi Resort, or even new stuff like when they started adding in the zip lines and the sponge blocks and things.
Yeah. So there you go. Splatoon 3, new level.
I'm next. That's right. The Mario movie Direct is scheduled for 2 p.m. Pacific on March 9th, showing the world premiere of the Super Mario Bros. Movie's final trailer. No game information will be included in this Nintendo Direct, so please stop asking.
Yeah, that I am glad that they level set those expectations of something like it.
Can you
No
imagine
games.
if we were still getting Smash Bros DLC characters? People would be like, "Where's the Smash character reveal?"
Yeah, I think Nintendo's actually like excited that they don't have any more Ultimate stuff coming out because they're not getting that on every Direct, every Twitter post they make. When's the next Smash character reveal?
That's just to lure us into a false sense of security, man.
Yeah.
That's how this Direct is going to open, with the character reveal for Alear from Fire Emblem Engage, and everyone's going to lose their mind.
Oh no! Oh man!
Even though he's free,
yeah,
everyone's still going to hate him.
I would be upset, honestly. Like, are you kidding me right now? This is cool. Makes sense. About a month before the movie.
Is anybody not sold on this movie that's listening to a Nintendo podcast right now?
I don't think so. I think that they've pretty much, with what they've shown, have pretty much locked in.
I've actually gotten a little more positive on the Mario. Like, I didn't hate it before, but I had some skepticism. Like, a lot of the early stuff we showed, even after we started getting trailers, like a lot of those early, which I take to be early scenes, like they make Mario look like such a loser. And I was like, I don't know about this, man. Like, Mario's getting beat up. Mario's like, but I think seeing some of the later stuff is like, okay, like he's gonna learn, he's gonna get to be a hero by the end. And like, Mario is a character too that shouldn't be like this hyper competent. Like, he should get knocked on his butt, because like that happens in the games too. Like, Mario falls in lava and comes bouncing out of it, running around uncontrollably with his pants on fire.
I think that for me, I had a lot of skepticism, but basically once we saw, like, the more they show, the more confident I am that this movie will be very successful. And I think at this point, every Mario fan, every Nintendo fan is sold on going to buy the ticket to go see the movie. And I think so I'm not 100% sure why they need to do a direct for this trailer at this point, but hey, I'm all for more information. So I don't want too much more. You know what I mean? Like, you want the movie to be a surprise.
The thing too is there are a lot of people who, I think this movie is still ultimately targeted at people who probably haven't played a Mario game since, the NES or the SNES, or, kids who just want a funny movie,
Yep.
So I think that's because a lot of people are asking, like, well, why isn't there a new game to promote? And it's like, well, I think the target audience for the movie has not played Mario Odyssey yet, so they're gonna see the movie, and they're probably just gonna pick up Mario Kart, because that's the game everybody buys.
Yep.
They're gonna see the movie, and they're gonna pick up Mario Kart 8.
There's already a huge library of Mario games.
Yeah,
you
don't need any more. Really,
100%. They don't need that.
There are so many Mario games that the average moviegoer hasn't played.
And they have a new theme park.
Yeah.
That you can go to. And I think, like, and that's Universal, right? So, like, that feels like that all coincides. Like, the movie and the parks coincide together more so than the games. But you can also just go get the games. There's other merchandise, like toys and stuff, that are coming. Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a lot. I see, just like I guess because I was Christmas shopping for nieces and nephews, but I saw a lot of, especially Mario stuff when I was, because I don't toy shop that frequently. I mean, I don't have kids, but I do have nieces and nephews who need Christmas presents. So
Yeah.
I found a lot of and Kirby stuff actually. The manager of my local Target must be like the world's biggest Kirby fan.
Oh,
'Cause they had, like,
Target.
all the Kirby stuff.
Target in general, every Target I go to has a
Gotcha.
good selection of Nintendo gear. I think they've got like a deal with them because they had those like trailers back in the day where they had like live action Mario stuff.
Because I went to two, and the one had like a mix, and I think it was like some Mario stuff and some whatever, and like it was like Mario and like Minecraft. But then the other one I went to, it was like all Kirby. It's like, oh, this place likes Kirby.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Kirby at my local Target. I'll go over this one kind of briefly. There's a lot to cover in this, but No Man's Sky Fractal update is, I believe it's out. I don't see like a release date anywhere on it. I think it's just like an update that is out now. Some keynotes for those who are playing it on Nintendo Switch is that they added missions which let you go to the space anomaly and take on missions for Priest, Entity, Nada, and Specialist Polo, who are characters in the game that you, if you're playing through, you've interacted with them before. But this is like some extra story mission type stuff. There's also this whole Utopia Foundation side quest story thing that you can do, and completing that unlocks a ship. So I'm excited, looking forward to that. And they added a Darth Vader helmet. I mean, it is like it is literally called the Fearsome Visor, and it looks exactly like the Darth Vader helmet.
Mm-hmm.
The quote is, "Strike dread into the hearts of your foes with this oxide strengthened helmet." Okay, I mean, hey,
yeah,
it's not called the Darth Vader helmet, but it has like the like the back
for
brim.
legal reasons.
Yeah. So that's pretty great. I'm excited. I'm definitely going to use that. So that's all I got for No Man's Sky Fractal update.
All right. Well, apparently, Nintendo has sent an email to fans who bought Metroid Prime Remastered in Japan from March 3rd to March 17th. Metroid Prime Remastered is getting icons for Nintendo Switch Online. Meta Ridley is one of those icons, and right now you can get new Kirby icons.
Yeah, so that sentence in there specifically, we pulled this from the Meta Ridley Twitter. The Meta Ridley fan Twitter. So they were very excited about the Meta Ridley. But this is cool. The art for Metroid Prime Remastered is fantastic, and so those icons are going to be really cool.
So is that new art for Remastered, or is that like the same art that was for Metroid Prime?
I assume it's new, but I guess it could just be the concept art from the first game.
I mean,
higher
concept
quality
art in the grand scheme of things, new concept art is not that difficult to produce if you want to really promote a.
Yeah. Well, while we're on the subject of Nintendo rewards, there's new Pokemon My Nintendo rewards, the Scarlet and Violet highlighters, and a mini Scarlet and Violet notebook. This is bizarre to me. I don't understand why they're making highlighters, but sure.
I have to wonder if some of this stuff is like, the Pokemon Center in Japan just like ordered too many of these and we need to get rid of them.
We have some highlighters. Let's put some Scarlet Violet stickers on.
Well, I mean, like there's no shortage of Pokemon merch, right? Especially worldwide. So I'm sure this is probably driven by the business side of like, we got a deal on this, so let's throw it out to My Nintendo. Like we our
just pawning their garbage off.
Said that if we ordered another 10,000 that they'd get us a better rate or something.
Yeah, 100%.
Very likely be something like that. I have the Earthbound Beginnings notebook, and I'm like afraid to write anything in it because I'm like, I don't want to use it up,
Yeah. Well, another reward, I guess, while we're on this train.
Well, no, it's my turn. It's my turn for the next one.
Yeah.
Yes.
I made it as a sub point for some reason.
It's a sub point. I see.
But in addition to those Nintendo rewards for the Pokemon stuff. We're also getting printable rewards of alternate cover art for Octopath Traveler, Octopath Traveler 2. And it looks like you can get a cover for each of the 8 playable characters.
Ah, I see. So is that like the because there's art I've seen for each of the 8 characters. I assume it's the same.
Yeah.
The same art, yeah.
Yeah.
Just as a printable cover.
Yeah, I think this is really cool. If I was like more of a fan of the Octopath series, I would definitely like print
you gotta
these.
You gotta play every character's story to know which one's your favorite, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I would like get these and print them all off just to like.
Right now, my favorite's Particio for what it's worth.
Who is
the best?
Isn't that the Ike one?
He's the merchant. No, the one I compare to Ike is Hikari.
Hikari.
Because he has battle quotes
identical.
Both of them are when you're boosting. When you're boosting, he says, "Prepare yourself," and "I fight for my friends," at different boost levels.
Man, so great, so great. Yeah, but I would get these just to like have to like hang on my wall, you know, if I was a bigger fan of the series.
The Octopath, yeah, it's definitely, the art is great, and actually that's not too much of a tangent, but that's something I like kind of worried about with seeing the HD 2D engine so many other places.
Mm-hmm.
Is like I worry about Octopath sort of losing its own unique identity, but I think it's been able to retain some of that. It does still bother me, like as much as I enjoy the HD 2D everywhere else I see it, I'm like, Octopath needs to have its own distinct style. Like that's something I do think that's a little bit of a, it feels a little watered down to see it like Live Alive gets it and Dragon Quest is getting it, and
yeah,
but we'll see what they're able to do.
All right, now you can go. Sorry, Sam. Right. I told
Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. First wave of DLC, the Tower of Doom, is coming March 2nd.
Yeah.
I forgot this was coming.
It was. This is just foretelling of Rayman coming later, right? That's what everybody's really looking forward to.
Yeah.
And this game is so bizarre in that it like has full-fledged voice acting and Rabbids talking. That just doesn't compute for me, but
yeah.
Maybe I'm just too stuck on like old Rabbid. The Rabbids are rebranding. They're no longer minions. They're now like full-fledged characters. So the Tower of Doom has this like Rabbid
Madame Boistrella, I believe.
Oh, that's what Boistrella, yeah. And who says like, "Take on the Tower of Doom," and yeah, pretty great. Not much else to talk about with that one. So we'll move on to the last news item here, probably the biggest news item. Nintendo has confirmed reports that it will not take part in this year's upcoming E3, the Electronic Entertainment Expo. The company revealed that the show didn't fit into its event plans, and it will not have a presence on the show floor. The company said in a statement, "We approach our involvement in any event on a case-by-case basis, and are always considering various ways to engage with our fans. Since this year's E3 show didn't fit into our plans, we have made the decision to not participate. However, we have been and continue to be a strong supporter of the ESA and E3. Sam, what do you think of this? What do you think of this news breaking? This was rumored.
I'm not surprised. I mean, I think E3 is never really going to recover from the year it didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody realized they needed to have their own way of doing things. And Nintendo's been doing the video conferences for a while, so no conference is definitely no surprise. No presence on the floor is a bummer. I personally don't care. At the end of the day, I interact as a consumer, right? And I think from the consumer standpoint, it is so much better, you reach so many more people by doing things like online demos. Like I just played with Octopath Traveler 2. Like don't just make this an exclusive event for people in Southern California. Like I'm not going to go there. I live in Ohio.
Well,
but if you make a demo, if you make a video, do a Nintendo Treehouse, broadcast it to the whole world, that reaches everybody, right? So from the consumer side, I don't think there's any loss. Now, there is the business side, which is, like indie developers being able to showcase their stuff and maybe find a publisher at the event. Yeah. I think that's the real loss of not having this one big thing for everybody.
Well, the way this reads to me, I think we may suffer a loss as consumer, because the way this reads to me is that they don't have a plan for a direct in that time period.
Well, that just means they're free to do their direct anytime in the summer rather than trying to do it E3 week.
I just think that if what they are saying here in this last statement, we have been and continue to be a strong supporter of the ESA and E3 is true, and they had plans to have a direct in the summer, at least like anywhere in the near time period, they would make it work for that. So this leads me to think that a Nintendo Direct is not coming for the summer. I am more and more weary that that's just not going to happen. We're not going to see it till much later.
And to me too, it's the the whole Nintendo Direct hype train culture. I think I just checked out of a while ago in some ways. Like, I still love Nintendo. I still love their games. But I don't need a direct every quarter with a bunch of brand new announcements if I know I already have a bunch of stuff on the Switch that I want to play and that I'm enjoying playing. Right. I would rather, see stuff when it's actually in a close to finished state than get a bunch of empty promises like Metroid Prime 4, which is a game that, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Well, we've seen nothing. Here's
the thing, though. Like, Nintendo is really good about this. With some exceptions. Like, Metroid Prime 4 is the big exception. But for the most part, the announcement to release date is within like a 6-month period. Most of the time, they're not
really enjoy that.
Yeah, I think Nintendo. That is a great thing, and this is why I just don't think that they're going to have much to show. This kind of feeds into the rumors that have been circulating for a while that there's not any major releases coming post Zelda.
Well, and it's
which I still don't think is true.
Until we get there, and until we get there, you don't know what that means or what that really amounts to, and. Again, it's like, well, would you rather they have a direct and it be like the worst direct because there's nothing to show, just because it's June and it's time for a direct,
right?
It's kind of a if Nintendo is a little sparse at the end of the year, like there's no fixing that whether they have a direct or not,
right? But this is what I'm saying. I don't think there is going to be one based off of the statements. I just think that if there was, they would try and make it around the E3 time period, and they wouldn't come out and say, we're not going to come.
Yeah, and you have to think how much further out is it going to be? Is it going to be like August?
They
almost always have one in September.
Yeah, so. I think they'll probably just bump up the September one if they're going to.
And there's got to be a big release for the holiday. There always is.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't be releasing so many games in April and May if they had nothing for the end of the year. There's going to be something.
Yeah, true. I'm bummed by it, but not, like you said, at the end of the day, it doesn't really affect me. So I'm not super heartbroken about it. Yeah. Well, that's all we've got to talk about with the Nintendo news. So let's head over to the next segment of our show. Let's talk in the rumor mill. Alrighty, so in the rumor mill, we have just one rumor. There has been reports that a new Nintendo Switch bundle will be launching soon in Europe, including a Switch console that is red. It's like the 2022 version. Is that like the Mario Red? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It will have Super Mario Odyssey as a digital code and something related.
Or does 2022 version mean the post light Switch, the red box that has a better battery?
I don't.
It could be. It's probably red Joy-Cons too, since it seems to be a Mario.
Yeah, I
theme.
don't know. Maybe. It's, but that also makes it seem like it's not an OLED. Right? I feel like but I don't know. I don't know. It's all rumor, right? So, and then something related to the upcoming Super Mario Bros. Movie. That makes sense to me to release something in conjunction with that, like a special edition in conjunction with that.
This is a very believable rumor because it doesn't seem like the pie in the sky. This is what somebody wants, so they rumored it.
Yeah.
It's like, they're just going to bundle a Switch with an existing Mario game. It's not a special edition. There's no new game. Just, yeah, sure.
Yep.
Although, my only counterpoint would be, do you really think this can compete with Mario Kart? Because we know karts are going to feature in the movie as well.
Yeah, I think that they're banking on that, right? I think that they're going. People will come buy this bundle,
buy the bundle and Mario Kart.
Mario Kart. Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
That's kind of like if they sold a Mario themed Switch with Mario Kart, and then
there's been a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe bundle.
Yeah, every Black Friday, every Black Friday since release. Yeah, 100%. So this is where I think this will be going. I think this may be exclusive to Europe because that's what the rumor states, and this seems like a very Europe move. Nintendo always does more there because they're really trying to draw people in.
They haven't historically had as large a presence there in that market.
Right. They're trying to make a bigger splash there and get out of the stigma, because from what I have heard, I don't know, but we have some audience out there that listens from Europe, so let us know if I'm completely off base here. But from what I have heard, there's still very much a stigma that Nintendo is the more for children, even more so than I think other parts of the world, where you go, then that's the kid console, that's the kiddie console. And I think they're trying to break that stigma and appeal to a wider market. And so they do a lot more with rewards. I mean, they get steel books that we never see, Nintendo rewards that we never see, a lot more cool stuff.
Yeah.
So they're trying harder in Europe because they need to. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. This is interesting because it also is swirling at the same time that we're seeing rumors for that Zelda OLED and leaked images of that, which I find very believable that we'll see some sort of special edition hardware for Tears of the Kingdom, given how hyped the game is. And that is rumored to be coming early March as well. So not coming, but be announcing early March. So that's a lot of new Switches to be announcing at the same time. So maybe this is off base. One of those isn't coming, right?
Yeah. I'll tell you what's off base is the Switch Pro. That's not coming.
Nope. But I'm going to be very sad when they announce the Zelda OLED, and I have to fight tooth and nail to get a pre-order for that because it's going to be impossible to get.
I still have my day one Switch, man.
Time to upgrade?
I almost tried for the Splatoon one, but I kind of had second thoughts.
Would you go for a Tears of the Kingdom one?
Depending what it looks like. I prefer relatively simple designs. So the only limited edition console I ever had was my DS Lite. That was the Zelda Phantom Hourglass DS Lite,
Man,
and
the
it was
DS
just
Lite was
very
such a-
simple. It was gold, and it had a Triforce in the corner.
Yeah,
Like
nice
that's
sleek
what
design.
I want. That's what I want. Like just do, and I imagine for Tears of the Kingdom, they might not. They might do some. It might be like blue, like the champion tunic blue, with like the Hylian crest on it or something. I don't know.
Well,
But Tears of the Kingdom might have its own aesthetic.
yeah, it looks like it's going
to
for the
play
Tears
off
of the
of.
Kingdom aesthetic, based off the like leaked images for that, which I'm trying to scroll up and find real quick. Been going around for a while. It's white, green, and gold
White, green. Oh, white.
color
huh?
scheme. Yeah. Zelda OLED leaked. See if that comes up. Yeah. So it's like it's the white base like the OLED has. The Joy-Cons are gold with the green like magic-y stuff going up. And then the gold.
I see.
On the
Yeah, because I'm looking at the Tears of the Kingdom logo, and I imagine they would put that pattern.
Yeah, it's
on it
that
somewhere.
green and gold, but then there's a lot of white in the design
That
as well.
like green weird Guardian circuit
Yes.
stuff.
Yep. I do really hope that this is real because I like the design that has leaked for that. I think it looks really good, and I 100% want to get it. But I think what's going to end up happening for me is I'm going to end up having to like do a store opening and wait outside because ordering online, it's impossible. It's impossible. Everything sells out instantaneously. I wasn't able to get a special edition for Tears of the Kingdom. I'm still
Yeah.
upset. It's just impossible.
Yeah.
Too many bots, man. And it's just popular as well.
Limited editions be limited,
They do. That's all we got going in the rumor mill. So, Sam, as our guest here, this is our time for you to tell us where people can find you. Where can people find you on the internet?
Well, yeah. Check out the Retro Logic podcast if you haven't already. We are a fortnightly. That's not a pun. We actually don't play Fortnite, I don't think. Podcast. Well, you say bi-weekly, but to me,
bi-weekly is the worst.
Bi-weekly means twice a week. Some people use it to mean every other week.
Yeah.
We record a podcast every other week.
See, we have the same problem, but opposite, because we're doing a podcast
on Mondays
2 times a week.
It usually goes up on Tuesday after some editing. And it's all about retro games of all kinds, not just Nintendo. But we are pretty big fans of Nintendo, and Nintendo is pretty important in the world of retro games. We have a website. So you can go there. It is retrologic.games. Yes, .games is a domain name, just like .com. You can be .games, which we are. So that's cool. Retrologic.games. That is kind of our main hub. You can find links there to our Discord, which is probably our most active social media presence, certainly for me. I am on Twitter as @MoleThird. But I really spend more time in Discord. You'll see me on the Retro Logic Discord. I hang out in Nintendo Pals Discord as well. All in Nintendo Dads, all our friends in the family of podcasts.
Yeah.
But the website also has links to the blog, which is written mostly by me. We have some other stuff. John just put a review up there for the Retroid Pocket 3, so you can check that out. I do things like retrospectives on specific developers. The most recent one was Quintet. They're the makers of games like ActRaiser, Terranigma, Illusion of Gaia. Not really so active anymore, but looking back at their history, and the games they made and why they were important and significant. As I said, we have the podcast. We actually have our own spin-offs of podcasts. It's like this contagion, you'll catch the podcast network disease and you'll make your own podcast. Get out of here now before you start one. But you'll find Retro Groove, which is all about music, Film Logic, which is all about movies. And we have a lot of fun there. And just hanging out on the Discord, posting pictures of dinosaurs, talking about Donkey Kong MMOs that don't actually exist. It's a great time.
And I'll shout out. I don't know if you mentioned this, but you also stream on Twitch. You stream almost every Monday.
Logic Games on Twitch. I'm usually the one that's streaming. That's every Monday, working through the Mega Man Battle Network series. I throw some other curveballs in there every now and then too. Most recently for Valentine's Day, I was streaming Hamtaro Ham Ham Heartbreak for the Game Boy Advance. That was a lot of fun.
Such a good idea. I highly recommend the Retro Logic podcast. I was on a recent episode, so if you go back and listen, actually, was that the last episode, or have you guys recorded since then?
That was the last episode.
Yeah, actually. So I was on the last episode of Retro Logic podcast. So if you're listening to this now, go check it out. You can hear us all talk about Breath of the Wild.
Yeah,
the definition of
retro.
Yeah, retro is very stretched over there. But they do talk a lot. You guys know your stuff.
We try not to gatekeep, There's some people who are like, they won't even accept N64 as retro because it's not 2D anymore. But hey, man, if you like games, there's a place for you.
Yep. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Hey, if you would like to follow me, Andross, you can find me on YouTube. I am at Andross1 on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. And if you want to follow the show, you can follow the show at Nintendo Pals Podcast on all social media platforms. My YouTube is going strong. We're posting shorts up there every weekday and a new video coming out every 2 weeks. Please check it out. If you're listening here and you like the kind of stuff I make, I pour my heart and soul into my YouTube channel. There's a lot of work into that. So would appreciate a sub or follow on any of those platforms. And with that, we'll close out with the Patreon Poke-Rap. Yes, I forget every episode to shout out that we have a Patreon, patreon.com/NintendoPals, where for as little as $3 a month, you can be a part of this amazing shout out where we wrap our appreciation for you Pokemon style. And, Sam's a proud patron, and we've got a great group of guys there, guys and gals supporting us over on the Patreon side of things. So if you want to be a part of this amazing outro, hit us up, and we'll fire that off now to close out the episode. We gotta wrap some Patreon.
You just do the singing. I'll take care of the hard part.
Let's get it on.
We want to be the best that ever was, and shout out our pals over on Patreon.
LPD, Rizzle, Retrologic Day, U-Dog Gamer, Schlim, Tor, Spanish, and Solo Something, Brian, Little Miss 7, and Cosmic.
Catch 'em, gotta catch 'em all, gotta catch 'em all, Patreon.
K9 Katina, ThirdStrongestMole, Tim the Nintendo Dad, Lance, Seth Sturgill, Monkey Thunder, Purple Leola, Dat Fast John, and Lava Plays 2.
Gotta catch 'em all, gotta catch 'em all.
Yeah.
Gotta catch 'em all, gotta catch 'em all.
Yeah.
Gotta catch 'em all, Patreon. Let's get 150 or more, yeah, please. To be a Patreon donor is your destiny.
Thank you all so much for listening, and we will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.